Good Thursday morning, foggers. Hope everybody's doing well. We're almost at the end of the week. You're almost done with another week of the grind. So a lot of interesting things have happened. Some of which I can't discuss because of confidentiality. But it's really, and we'll cover that tomorrow. I think we'll get into confidentiality and the importance of it, especially in our profession. Today, I wanted to dive into, tell you my experience with EMDR, which is eye movement desensitization reprocessing. It's a lot of psychological mumbo jumbo, but as I sit here and I've told you, I'll be honest with you, this shit really works, right? I've had two different types of EMDR. There's eye movement, right? And there's sounds. The eye movement didn't really do a lot for me, and it goes back to what I had told you in previous messages about, certain therapists will click with you, certain techniques might work better than others. So never lose hope, always keep on and searching for better answers. But anyway, years ago, I went to a PTSD retreat with Miami-Dade Fire, a bunch of my friends. One of them's a firefighter, paramedic, and he's also a Marine that had been in combat in Iraq. And we went to a PTSD retreat in Tampa for a week. And if you have an opportunity to visit a PTSD or a mental health for first responder retreat, I like the retreats because it gives you an opportunity to leave everything behind, right? And when you get to these retreats, and again, I'm just giving you my experience, when you get to these retreats, you go through an intake, kind of like going to a detox or a rehab, right? They basically, they will go through your stuff. And again, it's some people are in worse place than others and are chemically dependent at that time, right? Whether it's alcohol or drugs or pills, whatever it may be. So you do go through an intake, it's nothing personal. It's nothing to bring shame on anybody, but I like that because it really allowed me to detach a little bit from the outside world. You're not being held against your will or anything like that. It's not like you're in a hospital. It's, they do the intake, they go through your stuff. And so it's a week long. And during that week, you have group and private therapy sessions. And the group session allows you to, whether you're a talker or not, allows you to listen to other people. And like I've told you before, sometimes, stigma and shame, works in a way where it makes you think like I'm a weirdo, right? I'm going through stuff that nobody else goes through. And I've been doing this for a long time at a very low level. And again, I'm not a professional. I'm just a guy who enjoys helping people, listening to people, and, sharing my story that I've been through, all the stuff that I've been through, right? So group sessions and peer allow you to, you don't have to partake, you just listen, and you'll be like, holy shit, I'm not that weird. I'm not that much of a whack job, like we think sometimes about ourselves, and allows you to listen to other people. And it also, there's a healing aspect to it because you realize like, I don't have problems. Sometimes God will put somebody next to you who has had significant trauma in their life, whether it was from childhood or professionally. And you quickly realize, number one, I'm not alone. And number two, man, maybe I don't have that many problems, right? And so there's a healing aspect to that. And then you have private sessions with a therapist, and everything is confidential in nature. And you're able to share things, child molestations and suicide attempts from families and things where maybe you want to keep them a little more personal, and it's completely understandable. But anyway, let me tell you, as you go through that week of group and private sessions, and it gets heated and it gets emotional, and it's really, I think it's just great. I love to partake in that. Towards the day before the last day of the retreat, you take part in EMDR. And like I'm saying, this one was sound, and I had never experienced this. And this is like being at Woodstock, dropping acid, listening to Pink Floyd. This shit is crazy. And I'm just gonna tell you in detail what it's about. So you sit in a chair, the therapist is in front of you, they sit directly across you, and they give you these little earphones that you put on, nothing too sophisticated. And there's a little wire, and it goes to what looks like the old Walkmans, right? It's a little box that's smaller than your cell phone, and it just makes noise, and it goes from one ear to the other. You'll hear like a bass sound, boom, 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 and she'll tell you, at this point, you've already selected two incidences. I selected the incidents with the the 16-year-old girl that committed suicide, and the young girl, 18, 19, 20-year-old girl that had died in a single vehicle traffic crash. It was very gruesome. But anyway, so I selected those two, and before that, I didn't know, I had seen very gruesome things in my career. I didn't know why I selected that. I find out after, and I had shared with you in previous videos. But anyway, you sit down in this chair, and the sound starts boom, 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 boom. And then she's in front of you. It's not hypnosis. You're completely awake. They do tell you to close your eyes, but then they tell you, okay, tell me how that day started. And then you just go over it. I was dispatched to this call. I was an acting sergeant at the time. I had taken my promotional exam. I was summoned to the apartment. We go through the whole list of things that had happened. And then they turn off the machine, and then you're like, okay, tell me some more. And then they turn on the machine again. And as you go saying the story, once you said what happened in that traumatic incident, she'll tell you, okay, now I want you to go over that same scenario. Tell me again. And now you notice the sound goes, it'll be, instead of boom, 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 you'll hear boom, boom, ba bum, boom, boom, ba bum, boom, boom, and you'll hear different sounds and and all these things. And then so you verbalize that. She goes, what do you hear? And I hear, oh my God, I hear like these sounds coming out of here. And she quickly tells you the sound isn't changing, right? That's your brain healing, bro. And let me tell you something. It is crazy, okay? I even let go of a bro there because it was like, it's amazing because the sound is changing in your ear, yet later I was able to hear where she told me, no, the sound never changed. It never does. That is how this system, and again, I'm not the expert of how it works, but it works. So when I go back and I try to repeat the traumatic incidents, it's now allowing me to go back and handle that call in a different manner. And the only matter, I mean, we handled it textbook, no policies were violated or anything, but it allowed me to do what we normally can't do on calls, which is to process it, right? And mourn there and be sad for that girl and her family that committed suicide. And then to get in my police car and drive off with a finality, right? That we don't ever get. We get to these calls and we see all this horrific stuff, and we get on the radio and we change our location to the station. We turn in the report and we go home to our house, never having a final chapter of that, like what happened, how were people feeling, did that person live, did that person die? And that, believe it or not, takes a real effect on us as far as trauma, because we just don't have the outcome. We get to this thing and we're left with those chapters that are open, especially when you deal with something as traumatic as that. So this allows you to go back. Yes, she committed suicide. Yes, the family was distraught. And yes, I was in this scenario in my mind, I was able to give my condolences and actually get to know a little bit of the girl and see some pictures in her room. And I say it's crazy because you're awake, you're sitting in front of the therapist, yet you're like, oh my God, I'm going back to this call, right? The other call with the girl in the accident, I described, I left roll call at the station. I started patrolling. I got dispatched to the call. I rode up on this call, and it was a single vehicle accident out in a rural area. And it was just her. I guess she went off the road and overcompensated, and the car tumbled and she got ejected, and it's very gruesome, not to get into that. But so when she goes, okay, now she turned off the machine, she talks to me, she goes, okay, now I want you to start again at roll call and go on. And then the thing changes the sounds again. And I broke roll call and I started patrolling, and I got to the call, and I didn't see the girl ejected, but I just encountered a car that was broken down, upside down on the side of the thing, but it was perfect. It's kind of weird. There was no damage to the car, and I was able to move the car off the side of the road, and I left. I never saw the gruesome part of the body. I never got to experience that inability to not help this poor girl, right? I moved the car off the side of the road, and I checked in service, and I drove on. And again, Remember that I've told you trauma and large volumes of trauma over an extended career as a first responder sucks, right? But this allowed me to go back. And again, I tell you that trauma in general can be dangerous to people, right? If you're drinking and you get depressed and you get isolated and you do all the things that we're asking you not to do, and we're asking you to reach out. But when there's a direct link, remember I spoke about this in previous videos, when there's a link, and I found out after this EMDR session that the link on why I had chosen the 2 cases of these girls went directly back to my mother, right? My relationship with my mother and her failed suicide attempts from her depression and stuff from the death of my brother. But it was females and I was helpless. And that's why I said, man, I've seen more gruesome stuff than this. And again, during the trauma, I didn't really, I was sad, man, this is crazy. This girl killed herself. It's horrible. But I went on with my life, not knowing that that trauma had attached itself to me and was just sucking the life out of me. Okay, it really was for a long time, almost 10 years. So when I went through the EMDR session, I mean, I kid you not, my entire shirt was soaked from tears and snot, and I was just losing my shit. And my therapist, when we were done, and I was freaked out over the ability to go back to a scene and handle things different, she goes, you just mourn this girl's death. She will not be bothering you anymore. And to this day, in order for me to think about her, I have to make the decision, and I have the power to think about her and the case. It wasn't like before where I'd be driving and I would see her. When I would drive by the apartment building, I would see her face, or I would be in the water in my pool, which was a direct collection because she killed herself in a canal in the car. And knowing now that the relationship of water, when I would go inside my pool, I would stare off, and my family would tell me Earth to JC, and I didn't know that. And so, that trauma had attached itself to me like a fucking parasite, and was sucking the life out of me and almost killed me. So I wanted to bring that to you because if you get offered EMDR or you hear about EMDR, I don't want you to get intimidated. It is harmless, doesn't hurt. It will take you back to that scene, but it will allow you to heal. And again, you may find relief from the movement because they move fingers. That didn't work for me. Or you may find some resolve with the sound, which absolutely helped me. And I recommend it for everybody. So if you come across that, you're offered that, don't think it's hocus pocus. It may very well heal you. So, guys from the SWAT team, guys that there's trauma and flashes, and we, those dreams, we've all had those dreams where we run out of bullets. We've had those dreams where we jump off a building and right before we hit the sidewalk, we wake up. I've had numerous amount of dreams, and I've spoken to people that have had the same exact dreams. That is directly linked to trauma, okay? So if you're offered EMDR, you come across it, you come across a therapist who knows how to do it properly, you get offered to go to a retreat, I would highly recommend it, especially like the West Coast post-trauma is a very well-known one in California. Even though I don't know who wants to go to California now, but anyway, if you get offered that, like I told you, anybody or anywhere that is offering you help, you should seek it out and go to it if you're able to, okay? And you should have the desire in your heart to want to get better. So today's message is EMDR, post-trauma retreats. All those things are helpful. I think they're great. They assisted me, and they just contributed to saving my life. I believe that now, and we should do that. We need to take the inherent action of making our well-being in our mind and our body paramount. Okay, we should be training, and I use the analogy like Navy SEALs, but you can't just get dressed with your uniform and check into service and have that robotic state every day. You have to be in the gym, releasing endorphins, whatever it is, skydiving, whatever it is that makes you feel free, you need to be doing that, okay? So on this Thursday, that's my message to you guys. Seek out help, reach out. I'm here. I think tomorrow we may cover the importance of confidentiality, right? And so we'll go from that. So this Thursday, Thank you. I'm grateful. We have a ton of followers. Please spread the word. If you can, go to YouTube, like and follow so we can get that going and we can get some sponsors. And that's it. Thank you. On this Thursday, I'm grateful for everything you do. I love you. I respect you. And remember, love yourself and act like a badass. You're already one, okay? God bless you. 3 a.m. Fog.